Well, rip that immersion. Yo, Ed. We're just getting settled in. I took a little longer. I wanted to let my laptop charge. Because it's a bad fucking... bad planning. Alright. Alright. I've got the Necronomicon, because we're gonna go with actual Lovecraft, because I'm not accidentally reading smut again. That was disappointing and, not gonna lie, really funny. But I'm gonna try not to do that shit again. That was, yeah, no, you heard that right. Ask Sassy. She'll tell you. Or you could watch the VOD. And that'll tell you too. Yeah, there was, yeah. That happened. It's okay. It was just not, you know, it wasn't what we were looking for. But that's okay. That sounds horrifyingly. Are we talking about the fish story? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Sassy. We're talking about the fish story. You bet your bottom fucking dollar we're talking about the goddamn fish story. What'd you do? So, wrapped up in my little blanket. Got my lights on. We're doing this. Yo, Chaos. Oh my god, you guys came out tonight. You guys came out tonight. Happy Halloween and happy Samhain for those of you who observe. Yeah. So, we're in this with Spooky Stories again. Happy Spooks. This is my Christmas. This is my favorite holiday of the year. In fact, I pretty much celebrate the entire month of October. Last trick-or-treater a few moments ago, so I'm not on door duty. Hell yeah. I figured I would wait until after the trick-or-treating rush was over to start the spoops. Christmas music starts tomorrow. Oh, swallow formaldehyde. Hell yeah, it does. Oy vey, It's time to listen to Mariah Carey on Merciless repeat. Yeah, so This is the last day of my favorite month of the year. And traditionally, Halloween used to be the Celtic and Irish Festival of the Dead, where you made sure spirits were not angry, left out food for people who would otherwise curse you, and make sure your dead are doing okay, and that they're happy. Not Mariah, Jesus Christ. Mariah is special torture. But it's no. Elvis time? Oh. When word got around that I was giving out large bars of candy, Dora ran off the hook. Yeah, such is the way. But yeah. I personally observe Samhain. I observe pretty much the entire month. And I've done what I've needed to do this month, and now it's time to ring it out. Ring winter in. And, do some spooky stories. So, we'll do that. I'll have you guys choose what we do. I've got my good old Irish Book of Spooks right here in my hand. Mariah alone, nah. Mariah mixed with My Chemical Romance. Oh. I've not been educated in such options. Okay, there's this one song from My Chemical Romance that always makes me think of Christmas. And I know, like, Halloween's body isn't even cold yet. But, oh my god, I don't know what it's called, but I could sing it. When I was a young boy, my father took me into the city to see a marching band. And da-da, 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 da-da-na-na-na-na. Yeah, welcome to the thank you. Is it MCR? I might be wrong. Oh, there we go. Welcome to the Christmas. Okay, so I'm not the only person who's thought of this. Good, good. Lovecraftian smut. That's off the fucking menu now. Poor Sassy had to listen to me suffer through that and just censor huge swaths of things. So anyway, don't fuck fish. Yeah, so we've got Irish spooks, we got Lovecraftian spooks from Lovecraft, and we have this generic Halloween book of spooky stories that I have. I laughed your ass off. I'm glad someone enjoyed it. Do what now? I'm sorry, what? So the VOD might be worth watching. I started reading the story without knowing what it was about. And, yeah. So, dude fucked a fish girl and, died. No. I don't like fishing that much. No. Don't get it twisted. Please don't get it twisted. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Alright. So I think I'll start a story from the generic Halloween book. And this one is called... Oh god, I'm sorry in advance, Zerp. This is a German name that I'm going to absolutely fucking waste. Oh no, I'm getting DMs. Oh, but first, we have a special, very special submission from everyone's favorite Firehawk, our very own Chaos Dragoon, in his newest installment in his Twisted Tales series, which I will absolutely start with. This one is called Halloween Decorations. And everyone's favorite. We're kind of stretching it. It's my favorite. Get used to. Alright. And here goes. Halloween was Eric's favorite time of year. He loved the cold air, loved the Halloween-themed foods and candies. But what he really loved was decorating his home. Sure, the other holidays allowed him to decorate like Christmas, Easter, and Thanksgiving, but he loved Halloween decorations. He loved making his home look as scary as possible with ghosts, ghouls, and his favorite decoration, skeletons. Every year his neighbors would marvel at his home and all the decorations he hung. While he hung a skeleton kept together with chicken wire on the tree in his front yard, his neighbor, Frank, walked up and whistled while praising. Geez, Eric, where'd you get your decorations? Oh, the party store. But the skeletons I handmade since the stores look so tacky and fake. A good block of wood and a coat of paint and you've got yourself a realistic looking skeleton. Had to do something to take my mind off my wife leaving me, Eric said as he examined the skeleton hanging on the tree and nodded in approval. Yeah, that shocked all of us when you told us she just up and left, Frank said before he added, By the way, I think next year you can make a skeleton for us? Yeah, we'll do, Eric said before he added, Mrs. Tully asked me to make one for her as well. Might have to open a decoration service. Frank laughed before heading back to his home and continued placing decorations around his own house. Once Eric hung up the skeleton, he placed a skull and skeletal hand on the ground, like it was crawling out of the dirt. The skull and arm were much smaller than the one hanging from the tree, and it had what looked like a brownish-red stains on them. Halloween night came and went, with Eric's house being visited the most because of its lavish decorations. The next day, everyone was taking down their decorations and placing them back into totes for next year. While Eric placed skeletons into a tote, he noticed Benjamin and Megan walking and talking with neighbors and handing out flyers. He knew what they were doing as they continued down the block toward his house. He noticed the two had puffy red eyes and knew they'd been crying all night. Eric wiped the dirt from his pants and wandered over to the two who were talking to Frank. When he walked up to them, Megan wiped her tears and asked, Hey, Eric, are you free this weekend? Yeah, we're doing another search for Vanessa? Eric asked. Megan simply nodded. Their daughter, Vanessa, went missing 3 days before Halloween. The police had to wait 24 hours to see if she'd turn up, but when she didn't, the whole block went on a search party for her. Megan handed Eric a flyer with Vanessa's picture, took it and looked at the picture of the smiling little girl with curly blonde hair. He folded the flyer neatly before placing it into his pocket and conferred, Yep, I'll definitely be out to help. Megan and Benjamin thanked him before heading toward the other neighbors to ask for help in the search. Eric went back to his home and picked up the tote of decorations before heading back into the house. He noticed the trash truck coming down the road and quickly grabbed out the garbage bag he left in his garage where his workshop was. He flagged the truck down and threw the bag into the back before he talked with the man as he pulled the lever. The truck crushed the bag into the back. As the bag was crushed and fell within the truck, red, viscous gore dripped from the bag and coated the trash with liquid that was mixed with curly blonde hair. And that is why you don't trust a dude who says he carves skeletons out of wood. Made of wood, press X to doubt. Like, as somebody who does carving now, like, yeah, you could do it, but it would be so difficult. It would be so hard. Clay I could see. Plastic I could see. But wood? Maybe Angus could do it. Angus probably could do it. All right. How long is this one? Oh, okay, not that bad. So I'm gonna read one from the Halloween book I've got. Hold on, I'm just skimming this before I do it. Alright, here we go. This first one is called "And When You Called Us, We Came to You" by John Shirley, which is in this book called Halloween, Magic, Mystery, and the Macabre. And I make sure there's no animal lovers. That was the quick scan. Learned a valuable lesson. Yeah. I mean, you enjoyed yourself, so it's fine. The VOD is 10 out of 10. Like, it was good content. It was good content. Alright, here's the story. It was a hot afternoon, and her fingers were slick with sweat as she worked the shears along the edges of the glaring face. Today and tomorrow, it was Chun's job to cut the faces from dangling sheet of rubber. Some factories had machines that did all the trimming, her cellmate Bao Yu told her. But here, we are the machines. Bao Yu was across the room from her, touching up the masks with spray paint. Chun wished they could talk while they worked, but she wasn't allowed to leave her station for hours yet. They were at a Shenyang labor camp, after all. Not a regular manufacturing site, though in truth the conditions weren't much better in an ordinary factory. People got paid a little more, and they worked perhaps 12 hours a day instead of the 15 Chun and the other ones worked. And they weren't likely to be beaten. There was a hand-operated machine in the main work shed that pressed out forms for the Halloween masks before they came here to Chun and Bao Yu and the other girls. Here the masks were trimmed and connected to straps that held them on a wearer's head. The masks, it was said, were for the American custom of Halloween, and sometimes they reminded Chun a little of the images displayed during the Festival of Hungry Ghosts to placate the lost ghosts of ancestors. But the American Halloween seemed to Chun to be something else entirely. This mask, intended to export to America, didn't have the plaintive, pitiful look of a hungry ghost. This monster's face was angry, cruel, wild, and absurd all at once. It was a furred man, partly wolf, its mouth agape to show fangs, its pointed ears tufted, the deep lines of its face suggesting it was straining with all its will to leap into the real world and kill whatever stood in its way. She would have to trim more than 1,000 of these today. Yesterday it had been a green-faced demon with bright red lips. The day before she'd assembled plastic bones of dancing, mockingly hateful skeletons with glowing red eyes. Ooh, another one. Alright. Thank you, Chaos. I'll read that one after. Today, she seemed to feel the 3 years she'd been imprisoned here, and the 3 more years awaiting her like crushing weights. Her arms ached. It was mid-afternoon, a long time till the 20-minute dinner break. Her mouth just dry. Halloween masks were not just made of rubber, there were other chemicals in them too. Working around them for 5 days made her skin red, her fingers swollen. The painting the others were doing in the same poorly ventilated room made her eyes burn. She coughed sometimes, and it was often hard to catch her breath. Sometimes, when she was feeling tired and sick, it seemed to her that the Halloween masks sensed her vulnerability. Then, from the corners of her eyes, she could catch them looking directly at her, waiting for her weakness to increase, as if they were waiting for the right moment when they would snap their jaws at her. The wearier Chun grew, the sharper the smell of rubber and chemicals grew, till she thought she might throw up. The last time she'd vomited on the job, the supervisor had shouted at her, slapped the back of her head, and said to stop malingering. If she slowed down her work too much or went to the bathroom more than once a shift, he would jab her in the belly with his baton. Did the people across the sea know how these masks were made? Did they know about the labor camps and the factories where other such decorations were made? Where those strange, horrible bearded Christmas figures were sewn together? With the blow-up man in the white and red suit and the black boots, the Santa who lived inside a transparent plastic globe, seeming to delight in a perpetual blizzard, or of the eyeless reindeer made of blinking lights. Did the Americans know about the people who worked so long, worked until they sickened for so little, making these bizarre trinkets? Chun reached up with her clippers to trim another face, free of the sheet, feeling her joints grinding with emotion. She snipped it out and laid the limp, bestial face on the work table, face down, so that its inverted inner face watched her. She started to attach the flexible straps, and then everything darkened, shrank to a murky picture at the end of a tunnel. She felt herself swaying, close to falling. She heard the supervisor shouting at her, telling her to stop pretending or he would get the electric shocker and really wake her up. And she tried to focus her eyes. She was rushing down the tunnel toward the mask on the table, toward its wide-open black mouth. She didn't really believe in the old ancestral worship her grandfather had practiced, but she didn't believe in the People's Republic either. She had no one but her grandfather to call upon for help. No one but grandfather and the ancestors, the lonely ghosts who looked for a chance to help, so that they would be set free from this coarse world. So she cried out to them. Use your strength, grandmothers, grandfathers. Your strength is great. Use your strength to defend me. Flying through the whirling darkness, Chun called with all her soul, all the energy of her anger and all her frustration. She called to those who wait beyond the darkness. The tunnel ended. She was back in the shed, still standing, staring at the face on the table. Its mouth was moving. It was speaking to her. You have been heard. For many years they have called to us without knowing it. Now your call has lifted their voices so that we hear them clearly. It has lifted their masks of summoning. Oh, how they tantalized us. Their icons cried out to us, but we respond. It was never quite enough. Something more was needed. But now we answer. You have given us what was needed, and now we will respond. You have called us, and we will come to you. The Luigi board was a big-ass fail. Just a tired old disappointment. Maura got annoyed when Julie tried to force the planchette to form messages from her ex-boyfriend who wasn't even dead. Apart from all that zoggy bullshit, nothing happened with the Ouija board. Oh well, let's do shots, Gwen said. That was pretty much her answer for any boredom challenge. They were in the basement of Maura's home, with the lights out and the candles lit. All three of them in their lame costumes, sitting with a big old Gwen, a hefty goth girl, not really fat exactly, just big, with the bulk of a linebacker, and little Julie, a Filipina girl, who was almost small enough to be a midget. That's a slight bit racist. Maybe. I'm not sure. No? Oh, Edgehead's submitting one too. Alright, I'll read yours after Chaos's. Did you write this one? Killers don't judge on race. If you have blood, you're dead. Yeah. Cliff had said, you could fit 2 Julies in a Gwen. You totally should. And have 2 friends in one. Save on ticket prices and shit. Then he'd make that donkey sound he called laughing. It's one you've heard a few times. Okay. Mom had gone to a Halloween party, one that Maura so totally did not want to go to, at the Stephensons' house. It'd be mostly middle-aged people playing old Alice Cooper songs, wearing costumes rented from shops. Anyway, Maura didn't want to see her mom get drunk and hoary, especially not at a party. Don't. Mom waited exactly 1 month after the divorce to start whoring around and sloppily draping herself on guys at parties. It was gross. Then Mom would be hungover and insist on their going to Sunday Mass so she could skulk into confession. Anybody within 10 yards of the confessional could hear Mom crying in there. A real drama queen. No, not that party. But this wasn't much better. 3 teen girls wishing they were with 3 college boys instead of each other. Maura snuck in her Green Man costume. Maura stuck in her Green Man costume, tights and a plastic mask, with some fake plant stapled to it. The costume was left over from the school play where they'd said, "You're going to be the Green Man," and she'd said, "Can't I be the Green Girl?" And they said, "No, that's not the legend." "You have lame costumes," Maura said, looking at Gwen's. Julie's is kind of okay, but mostly just lame. Everyone was sick of zombies by now. Gwen had wedged herself into a ridiculous Catwoman outfit from Batman Rising, a costume she'd mostly made herself, that was only going to make guys snicker behind her back. And Julie was in her evil fairy outfit. She looked like Tinkerbell gone all zombie. They were drinking Jägermeister? I think that's how you pronounce Jägermeister shots, which always made Julie sick. "If you drink enough shots," Julie, Maura said, "you could throw up on yourself and it would make your costume better." They all laughed at that, but somehow today Maura couldn't feel like she was part of anything, even while she was laughing along with her friends. Gwen and Julie both looked so loser. Julie was so eager to try to be edgy with them, but she really was just another Catholic girl planning to go to community college, have a job in a dentist's office, then get married and have kids. Who is the losiest loser here? Julie asked herself, thinking of the song by Princess Doggy. I have to look that up. That can't be a real thing. Princess Doggy. Oh, thank God it's not. Okay, good. Who's the losiest loser here? Who's the one with the Facebook fake up? Okay, now I'm really not sure if it's real or not. Who's the losiest loser here? Who's the one with the fucked up makeup? Maybe me, Mara said, taking a shot of tequila from the bottle sitting on the Luigi board. Princess Doggy. PRINCESSDOGGIE. Princess Doggy. Maybe you what? Julie asked. Maybe I'll get sick from mixing Jägermeister and tequila. She did a shot. Oh, yuck, that didn't go down good. Her stomach felt like some hand was wrenching at it. What if your mom comes home early? Mara shrugged. So what? She'll be so drunk she won't notice what we're doing. Or she'll pretend she doesn't. We could find a party that's, somewhere, Julie said. Where? I don't know. There have to be. We can call around. There's that Laura Ginsler party. But she's such a Miss Thang snobby ass. Miss Thang? Oh, there we go. Miss Thang. I got it. She is too, Mary said. All tea, no shade. What is the lingo that these guys are using? I've still got half of that Hawaiian hesh siggy, Gwen said. Siggy? Who calls them siggies? Mara said, rolling her eyes. You're all like in a bad mood, Gwen said, rooting around in her pocket-sized black taffeta-trimmed purse. Yeah, I am in a bad mood. You should like that, you being all goth and stuff. Goth dress like bad moods. What is wrong with this girl? No, that's not what it is. Gwen ran her stubby fingers through her red and black streaked hair. Then she went into one of her jolting changes of topic. Oh, let's go to the roof. Julie blinked at her. The roof? Yeah, we can smoke up there and watch people on the street. We could throw water balloons at people. It's such a bad idea. Might get some guys to come and check it out. God, listen to her, Mara laughed. You're a worse whore than my mom. Not worse than mine. Your mom just sleeps with her dad. Hello? That's what you think. Do you have a ladder? What is this story? Early 2000s douchebag teen lingo? Okay, thank you. That's actually helpful. That contextualizes this a bit. There was just one cloud in the blue-black night sky. That cloud is shaped like a band-aid, Gwen said. And it was. The thin, dirty-looking cloud was stretched over the blister-like moon, but didn't hide much. Cloud gave the moon a red halo like blood on a bandage, and seemed to make the face of the man in the moon stand out more sharply, so you could see every bit of it, and the crinkled lines at the corner of his eyes. Or maybe it was just the Hawaiian weed making it seem that way. She saw lips on the man in the move. Yeah, it was the hash, probably. She sighed and turned to look at Gwen and Julie. Gwen's 4 water balloons were sacrifices made from the 4 condoms she kept in her purse. What the? She carried them for months, hopelessly, really, so not much of a sacrifice. Gwen and Julie sat cross-legged just above the front edge of the roof, their feet right by the rain gutter, looking down at the street. Across the street, 2 groups of small children were walking along in costume, shepherded by parents and older siblings. The children tittered and waved their plastic candy bags. Some of them ran and skidded to a stop when they were reined in by their parents. Orange glows studded the row of houses irregularly, where people had put out jack-o'-lanterns. Across the street, the Castlemans had a more elaborate display, with styrofoam tombstones and one of those dancing skeletons with the wanly, glowing bones and hot coals for eyes. Thank God I was a teen early on, because if I was a teen during this time of the story, I would want to live on Mars. Yeah, me too. What if they're dug down under these fake tombstones, Mara said, and found bodies under each one? Gwen cackled. That'd be awesome. Awesome. Who said that? Mary asked. looking down into the bushes. She half expected to see Cliff there, trolling them. Said what? Julie asked, looking at her. I thought I heard a man's voice say awesome after Gwen did. She's going crazy, crazy, crazy! Gwen chanted, making a scared face and pointing at Mara. They all three cracked up at that. When they calmed down, Mara asked, That hesh is good. Is there any left? Just a what's-it. My dad calls it a roach. Gwen held it up in her black-gloved fingers and looked at it so close her eyes almost crossed. Teensy. That skeleton can dance, like on a motor, Julie said. I didn't know they could do that. Oh yeah, they got all kinds that move around now, Mara said, suddenly bored again. Skeletons that come down on strings and shit. Wish I hadn't mixed that Jaeger and tequila. I'm like about to spout orange goo. You feel sick? Julie asked. You should drink a glass of water. That's the smartest thing someone said since the story started. Her mom was a nurse, and some of it had rubbed off. You could suck the water out of one of these condoms. Oh my god. That shouldn't be funny. It shouldn't be funny. Why is it funny? You can suck the water out of one of these condoms, Gwen said seductively. Oh, there we go. Holding up a water-bloated oblong of blue latex. Blue? Did they used to be blue? That sloshed in her palm. Condoms were their water balloons. I can see why. Mara laughed and then said, Don't make me laugh, I might puke. Can I make an executive decision to not include them in the water cult? Oh. You don't even have to make it executive. I'm pretty sure it's unanimous. I'm pretty sure it's unanimous not to let them in the water cult. This is sacrilegious. This is sin. Oh my god. This is unfortunate. I'm wishing for the killer to kill all of them. I'm rooting for the killer. Same. This whole town can burn. Maybe not the kids, and maybe not the good parents, but these guys, yeah, they can all. I won't shed a bloody tear for them. Oh, Lord in heaven. Don't make me laugh, I might puke, but that made them laugh more. Mara looked at the dancing skeleton Halloween decoration and saw it was now dancing to the edge of the castleman's yard. Wow, it can move forward and backward too. Look. They stared, and Gwen said, What? It must be on a rail or something. Huh, that's a good illusion, Julie said. Really, really good. It looks so real. Where's Jason when you need him, right? I think you said the same thing 3 times, Julie. Oh, look, here comes Cliff. Get the condoms ready. Oh, for fuck's sake. Ew. With Cliff? Gwen asked, screwing up her face. I mean the balloons, retard. I know you did. Here's one balloon for you and one for you. Cliff was walking down the sidewalk toward Mara's house. He was tall and awkward. He had narrow shoulders and wide hips, and sagging pants he wore to be all hip-hop. Oh yeah, this is early 2000s. It just made his hips look worse. He had his hair teased up in a faux hawk. I'm glad I didn't read that as fox hawk. And he was wearing his worn-out Oakland Raiders jacket, open over a Necro t-shirt. Oh god, it's worse, they're from California. Whose 50 Shades of Grey fan fiction is this? Maybe we'll just stick to the fucking Necronomicon, man. This is bleak. Oh. He had one hand in his coat where he concealed a bottle in a paper sack. Probably a 40 of that horrible ale he liked. As he walked, Cliff kept staring at the dancing skeleton in the castleman's yard. Halloween decoration looked like it was making little warning runs at him, as if it were preparing to rush him. He looked at it and laughed. Even from here, Mara knew he was stoned, but he gaped and stared and laughed. He hasn't seen us, Julie said. I've read No Sleep's More Bearable. Yeah. Maybe send me a couple of those. This is disappointing. Alright. Gwen put her finger over her lips to signal for quiet. This makes my immortal look like your New York Times bestsellers list. Oh yeah, this is some trash. Does this have an end? Alright, I'm gonna skip to the good part here. Anyway. The skeleton's dance was a summoning, every turn drawing ever more furies. Ever more furies? That's unforgivable. Did you spell check this? Can you hit me up with the link, Sassy? If you don't mind? God damn it. Every turn drawing ever more furious. From the stunned and sickly air, the pregnant density of the atmosphere birthing cannibalistic witches and vicious sparkle-free vampires. Sparkle-free vampires. That's depressing. That's a depressing phrase. Ugh. And icy-eyed slashers in ski masks and masks of human skin and hockey masks. Demons formed and slid down the sky, as if sliding on invisible stalactites. I never know how to say that. White-winged angels turned black-winged and cruel. Friendly ghosts became hateful and unfriendly. Wolf-faced men gnashed and howled. A great swelling cloud of lunatic figures danced round Maura. Figures that had once been ornaments on Halloween lawns, and had been costumes, and had been images in movies and in posters and on books. Dancing now, in a mad Samhain glee, in Dionysian delight, obscenely, profanely, mockingly, satirically, but in deadly earnest, surrounding her house. Some detached from the crowd to chase a car down the street, leaping on it, covering it, tearing open the steel roof, as if it were thin cardboard, laughing at the screams from within as it crashed, jigging in the flames rising from the burning car. She looked over at Gwen, who was standing, mouth open, shaking her head, as she stared at the thronging masquerade of dark spirits, smiling, then frowning, and then smiling, and then frowning again. Clinging to Gwen, Julie was weeping, her shoulders shaking. The thickness was still pressing in on Maura, and she felt it whisper urgently to her. "Give them to us, and thus sign your pledge. Give them to us, before we arise and take them. Give them to us, and you may join us." Maura thought about her mother and that party and the priest who'd put his hand up her dress when she was 12. Jesus! Oh my god! You guys are just a train wreck of a society! And her father not returning her calls, and teachers who wanted class to be over even more than the students did, and her friends whom she didn't really like much. "Okay," she said. She could barely hear her own voice. "Sure." "You know what to do." "Yes." "Stalagmites?" "Probably stalagmites. I will not give them to you. Those are my stockpiles of PS1. She moved toward Gwen and Julie, finding it hard to push through the thick air, but she came up behind them, Julie turning a questioning, startled face toward her. She shoved them both. Julie had a good grip on Gwen, and they both went quite neatly off the roof, falling into the macabre throng. His face squeezed into his own Halloween mask of terror. Cliff was just getting up, swinging a fist at her. It hit her glancingly. She hardly felt it. She squatted, grabbed the 40 by its neck, smashed it on the roof, swung the broken end into Cliff's belly. She felt it cut through his shirt, his skin, his muscles. Not a killing blow, but it didn't matter. He staggered back, mouth open, a red hole yawing. and then he fell into the throng. Mara looked down, saw the crowd tearing at Julian, Gwen, and Cliff, pulling their limbs off as cruel children pull the wings off of flies, and the air thickened even more, crushing in around her, squeezing. It squeezed her out of her body. She felt herself fired up into the sky like a pressed pip, flying upward, arcing down, and then rushing headlong into a flying cannibal witch that was opening its mouth wide, wider, and wider. She flew into that rubbery maw, and down, spun about the inside. Then she found she was in a new body, a form corporeal and incorporeal at once, a body that flew as she willed it to, upward along with many other dark spirits, sweeping into the sky, headed to the east. It was not quite dawn, but Chun was awake. Something had whispered to her.
"We are here,"
it said in Mandarin, or
我们这里.
Who? She asked hoarsely, getting out of bed, to stand in the weakening darkness.
"Those whom you called. The ancestors heard and brought your cry to us, and now we descend. Because of your merit and trueness, and because the earth and the planets turned with the lock of the sky to open the gate. But your cry was the key, and when you called us, we came to you. Now, come and see."
Chun walked stiffly to the door. It should have been locked, but as she approached it, the door swung open, all on its own. Muscles still aching from the previous day's work, she walked through the door, though she only wore threadbare pajamas and went barefoot out into the grey dawn. She came to a sudden stop, freezing in place with a mingling of horror and exultation, and she saw the throng in the sky. It was like a gigantic flock of starlings, swirling and turning in the air. But the spirits had replaced the starlings, and she saw many faces amongst the spirits she knew, faces she'd clipped from the rubber backdrop. But now they were not empty masked. They had been given form. The throng's chorused shrieking woke the guards, who came clamoring from their posts and their barracks, guns in hand, some of them firing erratically and uselessly at the laughing nightmares who swooped down upon them. Chun watched, gasping, as dark spirits swarmed over the guards, as they ripped and bit and killed. Then those spirits rose from the ravaged corpses, spreading wings of ectoplasm and shadow, to sweep over the camp. They darted down and broke locked doors with contemptuous flicks of their hands. They knocked down gates, and then they flew up and into the nearby city to lay waste onto any who would keep Chun and the other prisoners from their freedom. As the throng departed, Chun sat herself on the cold ground, to wait and to watch. Others came out murmuring to gaze about them in wonder. Not quite a full hour later, the throng reeled away from the city and up over the half-shattered buildings. Chun saw the spirits depart, ascending in the distance, a tornado of cruel laughter into the sky. She stood and went stiffly to put on her clothes. Then, with Bao Yu and the others, Chun walked into the burning town. Chun wished to find one of the old shrines that the Republic still allowed, so that they could thank their ancestors. That, I mean, alright. It had a payoff, but like, alright. Okay. So now I'm going to Chaos's one, and then to Edgehead, and then to Sassy's. da da da. Da 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 da. Hold on, I'm just thinning things out. Yeah, no. Good. Do 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 do. Be right back. Gotta grab popcorn and chocolate. Not a problem. We will be here for a while. Alright. This one is called Dark Side of the Moon from our very own Chaos Dragoon. Is this also Twisted Tales? No, this is different. Okay. Ooh, 2017. Oldie but a goodie, yeah? It was such a beautiful Sunday. A cool breeze signified the start of spring and carried the smell of various foods from the food truck parked at the edge of the park. My wife and I had found a great spot near the tree line, so we set up shop and set our large blanket with our daughter Sarah, who was drawing in her sketchbook. Even at the age of 9, she showed great promise as an artist. This is saying something, since me and my wife can barely draw stick figures. Before we got comfortable, I found a food truck that made personal pizzas in a brickwood oven that was built into the truck, which is just cool on its face. I got buffalo chicken pizza and had to listen to my wife complain, since I got an ulcer 2 years ago because I decided to eat nothing but buffalo chicken for 2 weeks. I mean, I can't blame him. She got a vegetarian pizza. She was going through her vegetarian stage again. She goes weeks without eating meat until she gives up and makes herself a plate of bacon. I find it funny when this happens, because I always make bets with Sarah to see how long it'll take her before she goes back to eating meat. Sarah got her favorite, garlic pizza with chicken, bacon, mushrooms, and spinach. I'd eaten a second slice of my pizza when it happened. The day was going so well until the scream. It was a blood-curdling scream from the woman who was running from something. I looked to see her running from a monster's the best description I can come up with. The creature lunged and slammed into the woman. I got up and grabbed my wife's hand and began to pull her toward our car. However, I felt my wife suddenly stop. I looked and my eyes widened as I saw one of the monster's tails protruding from her chest. She looked down at the tail and then to me before she whispered run, before she was lurched backward. I quickly grabbed Sarah and continued to the car. Heard one of the creatures roar and quickened my pace, but I felt something slam into my body. I fell to the ground and heard Sarah screaming. I looked up and screamed my daughter's name, so one of the creatures grabbed her into the forest. I got up and chased her, and as I did, the world became blacker and blacker, until I couldn't see anything. I shot up in a cold sweat. Just quickly looked around, tried to get my bearings as I looked at shelves of the aisles I sat between. Felt something wet hit my arm and looked down at the German Shepherd next to me. It nudged me again and its tail began to sway. That's when I remembered where I was. "Sorry, boy, I didn't mean to wake you," I said. "No, we don't know them. You can ban them." The German Shepherd I named Rex cocked his head before he got up and wandered out of the aisle. After losing my daughter in the forest, I ran to try to find shelter from the monsters that seemed to just appear in the city. I found Rex roaming the forest. Came up to me and nudged up my right hand, patted him, and the two of us raced to find shelter. That's when I found the Walmart. Rex and I got into the Walmart before they closed the metal sheet doors. It's been 3 months since then. A week into being in here, power went out. Generators then turned on. It's amazing how long the generators could last. According to one of the Walmart employees, generators can last for 5 months before they shut down. Got up and walked out of the aisle and looked around. Saw Rex doing what he always did. He visited everyone in the store to get petted and beg for food. I shook my head and let out a small laugh before I went to the bathroom. I was relieved. As I relieved myself in one of the urinals, I started to hear something. My heart skipped a beat as I thought one of the monsters got into the store. I stood still and listened to the sounds until I realized it was the unmistakable sound of moaning. I shook my head and I laughed internally at my panic. Finished, shook, and then flushed. And, oh shit, came from one of the stalls. I went over to wash my hands and took a bit longer just to tease whoever was inside. After I dried my hands and walked out to find Rex sitting outside the restrooms waiting for me. His tail wagged when he saw me and barked. "Ready for some breakfast?" I asked him. Then another bark and followed me as I went to the pet food aisle. Walked past Mary and her son Benny. Mary was still asleep and Benny was up and playing his handheld video game. Benny looked up and waved to me. I waved back as I passed. I've known Mary since high school. Was at her wedding. To the fuck-faced Chad. First time I met Chad, I wanted to punch him with his smug face. And he up and left Mary for a girl 10 years younger than him. I was both relieved and worried, since Mary was still pregnant at the time. However, her sister was there to help out, as well as me and the rest of her friends. Once I reached the pet aisle, I grabbed a can of dog food and went back to the aisle I'd woken up in. Since we're all trapped inside Walmart, we decided to take half the aisle to sleep in and call it our home away from home. Many usually leave the aisle as is, but people like me usually move the products and use the shelves as storage for items like canned goods for later, bottled water, and appliances. Stopped at the frozen goods aisle and took out a box of bacon, eggs, and cheese, Hot Pockets before heading back to the aisle. It shows half the appliance aisle near the middle of the store. Sheet separated me from my aisle mate, Terry Johnson. We worked together at the Movieplex, and I decided to share the aisle. When I returned to the aisle, the sheet was folded to the left of the aisle, and Terry was staring at the microwave with his breakfast in it. "Morning." "You missed the shootout?" "Which shootout?" "Oh, I'm sorry." "Morning." He yawned. Rex trotted over to him and was pleased when he patted him on the head and added, "Morning to you, too." "What you got there?" I asked as I opened the Hot Pockets and placed them in the microwave. "Pizza bagels," Terry answered. I nodded as I placed the dog food can on the electrical can opener and started it. Rex turned to me and quickly trotted over to me before sitting there and waiting for his food. I let the dog food slop into the dog bowl before I placed it on the floor. Rex went to town as he ate the slop before Terry's microwave dinged. He removed the paper plate filled with pizza bagels and asked, "What about you?" "Hot Pockets," I said. "Again?" he asked me. "Better than that crap," I argued. Terry was well known for bringing the junkiest of foods to work for his lunch or dinner, depending on the hours. He one time brought in a cheeseburger with onion rings, french fries, and jalapeno poppers on it. Smothered it with hot sauce and ketchup before devouring it. Terry isn't a big man, he's like me, well built with a small gut. However, when I'm 5'11", Terry's 6 solid feet. Solid 6 feet. Solid 6'6". I tried. I heard the microwave ding and looked down to see a large wolf spider on the top of the microwave. I jumped back and yelled, "Jesus Christ!" Terry looked at me quizzically and I pointed to the microwave and said, "Fucking massive spider!" He rolled his eyes and got up to inspect it. To me, the spider was as large as a human head, since I have arachnophobia, but in reality the spider was no bigger than a dime. He swatted the spider away, and I watched as it hit the floor and scuttled off. I grimaced as I watched it disappear. "Why didn't you kill it?" I asked. "Why bother? They're smaller than you," Terry said. "And so are grenades," I retorted. "True that." A voice came from the aisle next to us. "Thanks, Jason," I said. Jason Crane, another guy I worked at the Movieplex. That guy was built like a tank. He only worked part-time at the Movieplex since he worked full-time as a fitness trainer at the local Planet Fitness. "Don't encourage him," Terry said. "Hey, spiders are nasty, creepy crawlies," Jason retorted before the sound of crunching came from his side of the aisle. "That's coming from a big-looking brute that's afraid of bees," Terry argued. "Hey, I've got a good reason to be scared of bees," Jason said. "It's called an Ipsy pen. You should have one at all times," Terry said. The two continued to argue as I took my Hot Pockets from the microwave and began eating. I sat down next to Rex, who was vigorously licking his bowl to get every molecule left at the bottom. I finished that first hot pocket and began into the second one when a loud bang came from front. I stopped mid-bite. As I looked toward the front, there was a scream, and I feared I'd hear another scream before roars and monsters, plowing through the aisles, killing us all. There was another bang, and another, and another. Finally, the banging stopped. Terry, Jason, and I waited, with bated breath, when the intercom clicked on. "All's good, everyone. Steel sheets are still holding." A voice came from the intercom. Rex, through all this, was still vigorously licking the bowl that was now nothing more than his saliva. "Every damn day," Terry said before he continued. "I keep trying to get in. You'd think they'd just give up and find other people to terrorize." "Yeah, it'd be nice to go home one of these days," Jason said. I, on the other hand, didn't want to go back home. While Terry and Jason were still single, I was married and had a child. Had lost them on the first day before these creatures appeared. Had no intention of going back to an empty home where everything would remain. Everything would remind me of the two I lost. Hell, when I first got here, I was contemplating suicide, but Rex, Terry, and Jason helped me out of it. "Hey," a voice called out. I looked toward the exit of the aisle to see Matthew standing here. He waved to us and said, "Come on, some of us are coming up with a plan to leave." Matt was a pudgy-looking trucker with a flannel shirt and a hat with the words "Truck Yeah" stitched onto it. I appreciate that. "Why?" Jason said as he walked out of the aisle and added, "We're safe here and we have plenty of food and water." "Yeah, but according to Eric, those generators aren't working properly. We may have 2 or 3 weeks left before they crap the bed," Matthew explained. "Leave it to Walmart to get cheap generators," Terry said as he got up and followed me, Jason, and Matthew toward where some other people were. "So if you can't stay here, where are we gonna go?" Jason said. "Here," Matthew said as he pointed to the mall. "Dude, the mall's on the other side of the city. It's like 40 miles away," Terry ranted. 28 miles, actually, Matthew corrected. "This is a long way to walk with a large group. Those things will spot us and pick us off one by one," I said. "Luckily for us, we won't be walking," Matthew said before he continued. "Well, that shit went down. I was delivering produce here. My truck is still at the bay, and I think everyone can fit in the trailer." "How many people are here, though?" Jason asked no one in particular. "How should I know?" said Terry. "I have a rough estimate," the boys said. We all looked over to see a middle-aged, tubby man with a receding hairline and a Duck Dynasty-style red beard. "You do, Rich?" Terry asked. Rich was the general manager for Walmart. Rich walked up to us and added, "I had some of the employees here take a head count when the doors closed." He looked at the clipboard he always had and continued, "We have roughly 350 people here. Can your trailer fit all of them?" Oh! Matthew bit at his thumbnail and began to pace back and forth before he looked at us and said, "I might be able to fit everyone in the trailer. Might be cramped and uncomfortable, but I think we might be able to fit everyone in there." "Everyone who wants to go, that is," Jason said. Rich, Terry, and I looked at him as he added, "You've seen movies. When they need to leave, there's always a few who don't want to leave and think they can survive in their so-called safe haven." Jason used air quotes when he said safe haven. "This isn't the movies, dude. They know the generators will fail to leave with us," Terry said. "That's if we tell them," Rich spoke up. "What do you mean, if?" I asked as I narrowed my eyes. "Well, what if we can't fit all these people in Matt's trailer?" Rich said. "Everyone will fit," Matthew said before he added. "So don't go and cause chaos." "Didn't you say?" Rich asked. "I said it'd be cramped and uncomfortable, but I said everyone will fit," Matthew interrupted. "So we should get everyone together and just tell them the plan," Jason said. "Yeah, after we gather the supplies we might need," I added. The others seemed to agree as Rich waved over a teenager who stood at least 6'3". He was a skinny beanstalk of a kid with precursors of acne. "Eddie, tell the others to gather the people near the electronic department. Tell them we're having an important meeting," Rich instructed. Eddie nodded and quickly ran to get the others. Rich, do you have a key to the gun case? Matthew asked. Since being in the South, our Walmart had a gun case in the hunting department. Rich nodded and told us we'd have to head back to the general manager's office to get the key. I told him we'd meet him at the case after the meeting. As for me, Matthew, and Terry, we headed toward the electronic department. The announcement came over the intercom for everyone to meet. 30 minutes later, everyone in the store was standing in front of the electronics department's checkout station, with Rich standing atop it. He cleared his throat to get everyone's attention before he began. Alright, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The generators are going to fail, thanks to Walmart's corner cutting to make a profit. A large group of people began to break out in murmurs of what to do, blaming Walmart for cutting corners, or others simply accepting it as if they knew something like this would happen. I understand how concerned you all are, Rich said, bringing the conversation back before added. However, Matthew has an idea. Matthew walked out of the crowd and stood in front of it before he explained. My trailer is outside by the loading bay and it should hold all of us, but it might be a tight squeeze. With everyone in the trailer, I can transport us to the mall. But the generators should last long enough, so these things can move on to the next town, Matthew said. There were murmurs of joy as many felt relieved to be leaving the Walmart. However, someone in the crowd questioned if the creatures could get into the truck and its trailer. This caused some of the group to reconsider leaving. To me, it seemed like a movie where one group of people wanted to leave and the other wanted to stay. Jason was kind of right on this. It seemed like what would happen in the movies. Matthew simply answered with, if you want to stay, then stay, but anyone who wishes to leave can come with me and the others to the mall. More murmurs as people began to debate on whether to leave or stay. Anyone who wishes to leave will be back at the... Anyone who wishes to leave, be back at the back of... Oh my god, words. Anyone who wishes to leave, be at the back of the store by 10 tomorrow morning, Rich said before he ended the meeting. Once the group dispatched, Rich met me, Jason, and Terry over by the hunting department to take stocks of what firearms we had. We stood in front of the glass case that housed all the guns that Walmart was given. Rich opened the case, and Matthew was the first to walk forward. He reached for the Winchester and held it in his hands before he asked for ammo. Rich obliged and handed him 3 boxes. Terry took a hunting rifle and I took a revolver. Terry was an active hunter, so he was comfortable with it. My father taught me how to shoot with a revolver, and luckily I'd never had to use my skills until now. So will it just be us 4 who have weapons? Jason asked. A few more might help. If we arm anyone, we have a Walking Dead situation, Rich said before he added, too many people with weapons means everyone might fight for power. I don't think that'll happen, Terry said before he added, unless he gives someone a barbed wire baseball bat. I'll share to laugh, even if I didn't understand the reference, since I'd never watched The Walking Dead. However, it might be good to have some weapons that don't need ammo, I said, before I added, just in case. They all seemed to agree with me as they began listing off all the other things we could use as weapons in the store. We'll see who's coming and arm them with weapons that they might need if they wish to arm themselves, Rich said. After that, we all retreated back to our respective aisles. Found Rex sitting on the front of the aisle waiting for me. As soon as he saw me, his tail wagged and I petted him on the head before he sat back down on the floor and sighed, before I reached for the Stephen King book I was reading. I opened to where I left off and began to read. After a while, I was pulled from the page I was currently on by my growling stomach. I looked at the clock on the microwave and saw it was almost 3 in the afternoon already. The meeting was at 11 in the morning and I didn't get back to my aisle until noon. I marveled at how long it had been. But that's how Stephen King's book work. You think you've only been reading for minutes, but it's been hours. I patted Rex, who'd been sleeping next to me, and asked, "You hungry?" Rex happily barked and got up. Followed suit and headed toward the pet food aisle. Grabbed a can of dog food and Milk-Bone. After that, I walked over to the frozen aisle again. This time it took me a while to figure out what I wanted to eat. In the end, I chose one of the Hungry Man frozen dinners and headed back to the aisle. While I waited for my meal to cook, Rex slobbered at his bowl, trying to get every last drop of his food. He didn't realize I grabbed a Milk-Bone for him, and I knew when I gave it to him he'd be satisfied for the night. My eyes moved from the countdown on the microwave to the shelf above it, where I set the revolver and ammo boxes. Having the gun made me feel a little better, but I didn't know how these things would react to bullets or if they would even affect the creatures. The microwave dinged and I took out my meal and poked a finger in the middle of the meatloaf. I felt the still frozen middle inside before I placed it back in the microwave to cook a little longer. After getting the dinner to the right temp, I ate while continuing to read the Stephen King book. Rex had finished his food and sauntered back over to me and laid down next to me. I was consumed into the wonders of Derry and the kids' battle of the clown monster when I jumped as something kicked my foot. Just checking if you were to see if you were still with us, Terry said as he walked past me to his side of the aisle. He placed his meal down into the microwave before noting the book and asked, "How far are you?" "We're just about to fight the thing in the sewers," I stated. "As kids or adults?" he questioned. "Kids, why?" I asked before quickly saying, "Don't be a dick and ruin the ending." "Nah, I just wanted to see if you've gotten to the weird shit yet," he said. "It's a Stephen King book. There's always going to be weird shit," I retorted. "True," Terry said before he added, "but most Stephen King books aren't written while the writer's on drugs." I placed it down and looked at him. My quizzical look made him continue. "There's a rumor that King was on drugs when he wrote it. Can't remember if it was crack, PCP, or LSD, but that's the rumor. Now they mention it, I think I remember hearing something like that," I said. I vaguely remember watching a YouTube video about it, but couldn't remember. Pushed the thought in the back of my mind and continued reading. After a while, my eyes started to hurt and I felt tired. I placed the bookmark on the page I left off and looked at the time on the microwave. It was 9 at night. I yawned and patted Rex, who'd been by my side the entire time. Looked over at Terry, who'd already moved the sheet over to close his eyes, closed his side of the aisle. I got up and in turn Rex looked up at me and yawned before getting up and stretching. I sauntered over to the pile of sheets atop the air mattress, moved the sheets and crawled under them while Rex wandered over and laid on the floor next to me. Placed the eye mask over my eyes and slowly drifted off to sleep. I can definitely tell you're a manager. Chaos. You have all of the logistical things down, and I so much enjoy it, dude. It's always a pleasure. All right. You have such a grasp on practical matters, like everything from the generator to which aisles there are, and like what products would be there, and just little logistical details that I really, really enjoy, that make it feel really visceral, but also very practical at the same time. I know that's probably a weird compliment. Da-da-da. Oh, okay. No, it's not. So, alright, good. Working on the other chapters, so don't worry. Aw, hell yeah. So, Chaos, I'm planning to continue doing the reading streams throughout the year, so it can be Halloween all year round. But, next we have... So we've got Edgeheads. Then we have Sassies. And then, for Zerp, I'm going to read about cats. Alright, but first Edgeheads. Edgehead didn't cite where this is from, so I'm just reading it straight out of DMs. And, yeah, we'll see what that's about. Alright, and it looks like we've just got mods. Ooh, I just have a lot of viewers, so I was just like, who the hell is here? Alright. From Edgehead. On the 13th floor, there is a room. It's said to be haunted. They can never rent it out to anyone, because anyone who does rent it dies. One day, a very rich man, well-dressed, comes to the counter and says, I need a room for the night. Of course, when you get to mine, Dad decides to call again. Hold on. Do you want me to do Sassy's first and then come back to yours? Are you sure? You've heard it before, okay. And there's always the VOD. Alright. One day, a very rich man, well-dressed, comes up to the counter and says, I need a room for the night. And he says, I'm sorry, sir, we're all booked up. Only room we have left is room 13, it's haunted. The rich man says, I'm not afraid of ghosts. Runs to the room and goes up and gets ready for bed. He goes up and changes his jacket and pajamas and he hears, if the log rolls over, we'll all be dead. The man is petrified and he jumps out the window, lands in the street and dies. A couple weeks later, a very rich woman comes to the hotel and says, I need to rent a room. The man behind the counter says, I'm sorry, ma'am. We have no rooms to rent except for room 13 and it's haunted. One man died in that room a couple weeks ago. The woman says, I'm not afraid. She goes and rents the room. She's about to go to the bathroom and shower and she hears, if the log rolls over, we will all be dead. She's so scared she runs out the door, down the stairs, down the lobby, into the street, and she gets hit by a taxi and dies. A couple weeks later, rather common, man goes to the hotel, shabby dress, not a lot of money, very well, may have been living off the street. Goes to the counter and says, I'd like to rent a room. Man says, I'm sorry, sir. All booked up except for room 13 and it's haunted. 2 people have died here in the last month. Man says, I'm not afraid. He goes and he rents the room. About to take a shower and hears, the log rolls over, we will all be dead. Instead of being scared, he thinks, it sounds like it came from the bathroom. Goes to the shower. Nothing there. He hears it again. The log rolls over, we will all be dead. He thinks, is that coming from the taps? Goes to the sink, nothing there. I lost my place in the reading. Goes to the sink, nothing there. Hears it again. The log rolls over, we will all be dead. And he thinks, that couldn't be coming from the toilet. He goes to the toilet, nothing there. Looks into the tank of the toilet, nothing there. Finally opens the lid. There's a huge log of shit just floating in the water. And about a dozen ants perched on that log of shit. And every so often, the ants perch their heads up and chant, if the log rolls over, we will all be dead. Okay, that's really funny. Oh, the poor ants. Why does nobody save them? What a sad existence. They've been stranded there for months. Oh, the poor ants. Oh, how terrible. Oh, one moment. All right. And now for Sassy's. is from the Reddit No Sleep. And it's called I Now Live in a One-Story House. From user PaperCrane1001, 10 years ago. There were 2 rules we had to follow when we were living on the 2nd floor of the old apartment building. First, lock your door at night, and second, be very careful at the top of the stairs. These were natural rules, since, despite the front door being locked, you had to really be sure of 2 full floors of neighbors to leave the door unlocked, especially during the night. As I understood it, the management of the house used to be really strict about the locked doors thing. Had to put up signs all over the place telling people to lock their doors. Heard from the man next door that sometimes they even went around at night and rattled other doors, making sure they were all locked. But of course they completely denied being so invasive as that. I never heard them at it. But I'd been known to sleep perfectly content through an earthquake, so that was no indication. As for the stairs, it was just a simple reminder. They were steep and slightly tricky stairs, and I heard there had been even a couple deaths from falling down them. It was good to remind people, nothing wrong with that. Besides, my sister and I were happy there. Leanne had been fortunate enough to get the room directly across from mine, and we were old enough to actually enjoy each other's company, despite the traditional feud that comes between an older brother and his younger sister. To tell the truth, the feud still existed, but it had become more of a cheerful rivalry than anything else. We were happy, just happy. Things weren't perfect, granted. We were in an area that had constant thunderstorms, and the power was out as often as it was functional. My room had a continuous smell of strong soap, and although that isn't the worst thing it could smell of, it was a bit tiresome after a while. Leanne's room developed a troublesome lock. Half the time the bolt would click out one moment someone pulled at it. We wanted to move out, sure. But we also wanted to wait until we could be sure that the other could, too. If only we'd known. If only there had been the slightest flicker of menace, but there was none. There were no cold spots, no abnormal shivers when passing over a certain area, no strange noises, but for the occasional rattling of the knobs in the night. Nothing. Until that night. I woke in the middle of it simply out of thirst. First tried the sink, obviously, but the power was out, so the pump wasn't running. Annoying, but the landlord's kept a tank full at the top of the stairs, exactly for this purpose. Really, I should have thought to fill up my own jug whenever there was a storm warning, but however many times I thought it, never quite managed to go through with it. Went out into the landing, torch in hand. Halfway to the tank at the top of the stairs, I tried to click it on and found it was dead. That mattered little. There was ambient light, and lighting frequently flashed through the skylights with which the architect had a love affair when designing the building. No, I read that right. I got to the tank and began filling my bottle when, out of the corner of my eye, I glimpsed movement halfway down the staircase. As I looked, there was nothing. There was that kind of nothing that happens when you're staring at an object you're looking for. That sense of being right in front of you, if only you could see it. Then, by the flash of lightning, I saw it was really there. It was crawling. It had to, because it had no legs that I could see. It was like a torso, cut off right above the hips, reaching out with both hands and pulling itself up the stairs. One slow, painful step at a time. Black tatters shrouded it, I suppose, because clothes wouldn't really fit on that thing. Shrouded in the black tatters, where they failed to cover, blank space showed. Not black, definitely not white, rather a simple absence that I still can't think of without my stomach rising in protest. Space was not empty. as the vacuum beyond our planet is, but rather it was less than empty. It was hungry. It sucked in. It was the opposite of all that was material and physical. Then the lightning flash faded, but I could still somehow perceive its shape, continuing up the stairs. Even as I turned to run, another flash hit the room, and though it had sensed my intents to flee, it lifted its head and... I'm sorry, I cannot. I will never set to word, neither spoken or written, my full description of its face, or lack of a better word. It was simply all that a face should not be. And since this time, there's been no sight so horrible, so fearsome, so terrifying, that has impressed itself upon me in the least. For how could it compare? It is the one triumph, I suppose, that I bring from that night. And of all its horror, you should never be again cowed by the sight of evil. For the worst dunned man is but the palest reflection of the visage that faced me then. I ran. What else could I do? I ran to my room as fast as I could and began fumbling with the keys, all becoming aware of a faint, slithery drag, thump, coming down the stairway. How far had it been? Halfway, 2/3. How many steps did it have left? Finally, I forced my key into the lock, yanked the door open, dove in, locked it again, and collapsed. The adrenaline suddenly gone. I had no time for introspection, however, as I realized I could still hear the thing. Now up on the landing, it was still crawling. I could hear the hand over hand slither as it came straight to my door. The handle moved. It rattled for a moment, then went still. Even as I started to let myself relax, I heard the door of the next room over rattle, but it too was locked. I heard it go to the end of the hallway, rattling each turn, testing the locks. I sat and prayed that none of the other tenants had left their door unlocked, leaving themselves open to that terror. Then, as it came back, it was almost across the hall from me again, I thought, Leanne, please, no. Its slithering movement was clearly across from me. I listened, hoping, praying for a rattle. The lock clicked, and the door creaked. I couldn't help it. I grabbed the useless flashlight as a club and threw open the door. At the same time, there was a clatter, an all too familiar scream from the direction of the staircase. I ran toward it, the other tenants opening their doors and peering out, working torches lighting the hallway. There was yet some glimmer of hope in me. Some faint wish that if I got there fast enough, she'd be alright. But no. There, at the bottom, crumpled like a broken toy, the marks of hands, fast fading from her ankles, was Leanne. Poor Leanne. On the subject of stairs, though, before the previous owners of my house painted on the ceiling above the staircase to the basement of a man from the perspective of like feet up. So like you're looking up at the dude and it says watch your step. It's kind of eerie, but I guess after like, oh my god, 23 years of living in this house, you kind of get used to it. Alright. Now, Zerp, This one's for you when you watch the VOD. This one is from H.P. Lovecraft. It is called Edgehead. Edgehead, you didn't have to do that, you poof. Well, thanks for the 666 bits that you're never gonna get back. Anyway, this is called The Cats of Ulthar. It is said that in Ulthar, which lies beyond the river Sky, no man may kill a cat. And this I can verily believe, as I gaze upon him who sitteth purring before the fire. For the cat is cryptic, and close to strange things which men cannot see. He is the soul of an antique Egyptus, and the bearer of tales from forgotten cities in Meroe and Ulfar. He is the king of the jungle's lords, and heir to the secrets of hoary and sinister Africa. The Sphinx is his cousin, and he speaks her language, but he is more ancient than the Sphinx, and remembers that which she hath forgotten. In Ulthar, before ever the burgesses forbade the killing of cats, there dwelt an old cotter, and his wife, who delighted to trap and slay the cats of their neighbours. Why they did this I know not, save that many hate the voice of the cat at night, and take it ill that cats should run stealthily about yards and gardens at twilight. Whatever the reason, this old man and woman took pleasure in trapping and slaying every cat which came near to their hovel, and from some of the sounds heard after dark, many villagers fancied that the manner of slaying was exceedingly peculiar. But the villagers did not discuss such things with the old man and his wife, because of the habitual expression on the withered faces of the two, and because their cottage was so small and so darkly hidden under spreading oaks at the back of the neglected yard. In truth, much as the owners of cats hated those odd folk, they feared them more, and instead of berating them as brutal assassins, merely took care that no cherished pet or mouser should stray toward the remote hovel under the dark tree. When through some unavoidable oversight a cat was missed, the sounds heard after dark, the loser would lament impotently, or console himself by thanking fate that it was not one of his children who had thus vanished. For the people of Ulthar were simple, and knew not once it is all cats first came. One day, a caravan of strange wanderers from the south entered the narrow cobbled streets of Ulthar. Dark wanderers they were, and unlike other roving folk who passed through the village twice every year. 'Tis the marketplace, they told fortunes for silver, and brought gay beads from the merchants. What was the land of these wanderers no one could tell, but it was seen that they were given to strange prayers, and they had painted on the sides of their wagons strange figurines with human bodies, and the heads of cats, hawks, rams, and lions. The leader of the caravan wore a headdress with 2 horns and a curious disc betwixt the horns. There was in this singular caravan a little boy with no father or mother, but only a tiny black kitten to cherish. The plague had not beguiled him. It had left him this small furry thing to mitigate his sorrow, and when one is very young, one can find great relief from the lively antics of a black kitten. So the boy, whom the dark people called Minas, smiled more often than he wept, as he sat playing with his graceful kitten on the steps of an oddly painted wagon. On the 3rd morning of the wanderer's stay in Ulthar, Minas could not find his kitten, and as he sobbed aloud in the marketplace, certain villagers told him of the old man and his wife, and of sounds heard in the night. And when he he heard these things, his sobbing gave place to meditation, and finally to prayer. He stretched out his arms toward the sun and prayed in a tongue no villager could understand, though indeed the villagers did not try very hard to understand, since their attention was mostly taken up by the sky and the odd shapes the clouds were assuming. It was very peculiar, but as the little boy uttered his petition, there seemed to form overhead a shadowy, nebulous figures of exotic things, hybrid creatures crowned with horn-flanked discs. Nature is full of such illusions to impress the imaginative. That night, the wanderers left Ulthar and were never seen again. The householders were troubled when they noticed that all in the village there was not a cat to be found. From each hearth, the familiar cat had vanished. Cats large and small, black, grey, striped, yellow, and white. Old Cranon, the burgomaster, swore that the dark folk had taken the cats away in revenge for the killing of Mina's kitten and the cursed caravan. The little boy, the Nith, Willie Notary, declared that the old cotter and his wife were more likely the persons to suspect. Their hatred of cats was notorious and increasingly bold. Still, no one durst complain to the sinister couple, even when little Atal, the innkeeper's son, vowed that he had in twilight seen all the cats of Ulthar in that accursed yard, under the trees, pacing very slowly and solemnly in a circle around the cottage, two abreast, as if in performance of some unheard-of rite of beasts. The villagers did not know how much to believe from so small a boy, and though they feared that the evil pair had charmed the cats to their death, they preferred not to chide the old cotter until they met him outside in his dark and repellent yard. So Ulthar went to sleep in vain anger. And when the people awaked at dawn, behold, every cat was back at his accustomed hearth, large and small, black, grey, striped, yellow, and white. None were missing. Very sleek and fat the cats appeared, and so nursed with purring contempt. The citizens talked with one another of the affair, and marvelled not a little. Old Cranon again insisted that it was the dark folk who had taken them, since cats did not return alive from the cottage of the ancient man and his wife. But all agreed on one thing, that the refusal of all the cats to eat their portions of meat and drink, their sauce or milk, was exceedingly curious, and for 2 whole days the sleek, lazy cats of Ulthar would touch no food, but only doze by the fire or in the sun. 'Twas fully a week before the villagers noticed that no lights were appearing in the dusk in the windows of the cottage under the trees. Then the lean Nith remarked that no one had seen the old man and his wife since the night the cats were away. The other week, the burgomaster decided to overcome his fears and called the strangely silent dwelling a matter of duty, though in so doing he was careful to take with him Shang, the blacksmith, and Thul, the cutter of stone, as witness. And when they had broken down the small frail door, they found only this: 2 cleanly picked human skeletons on the earthen floor, and a number of singular beetles crawling the shadowy corners. There was subsequently much talk around the burgess of Ulthar. Zath, the coroner, disputed at length with Neat, Leanover, and Cranon, and Shang and Bull were overwhelmed with questions. Even little Atal, the innkeeper's son, was closely questioned and given a sweetmeat as a reward. They talked of the old cotter and his wife, of the caravan of dark wanderers, of small Minas and his black kitten, of the prayer of Minas in the sky during the prayer, of the doings of the cats on the night the caravan left, and of what was later found in the cottage under dark trees in the repellent yard. And in the end, the burgesses passed that remarkable law, which is told of by the traders in Hatheg and discussed by the travellers in Nir. namely, that in Ulthar, no man may kill a cat. I liked that story. And I think we will send this off with one last tale from the Irish. What say ya? Let me choose one. You'll take it? Good. This won't be the last of this. We can continue reading stories all year long. But let's do Legends of Witches, Fairies, and Leprechauns by Lady Wilde, page 83. Or the Soul Cages. Let's see. Soul Cages of Guala. The tales and legends told by the peasants in the Irish vernacular are often very weird and strange, and have much more of the old world colouring than the ordinary fairy tales narrated in English by the people, as may be seen in the following tales, taken from the Irish, which date from a great many years ago. The Horned Women. A rich woman sat up late one night, carding and preparing wool, while all the family and the servants were asleep. Suddenly, a knock was given at the door, and a voice called, "Open! Open!" "Who's there?" asked the woman in the house. "I am the witch of the one horn," was answered. The mistress, supposing that one of her neighbours had called and required assistance, opened the door, and a woman entered, having in her hand a pair of wool carders, and bearing a horn on her forehead, as if it were growing there. She sat down by the fire in silence, and began to card the wool. With violent haste, suddenly she paused and said aloud, "Where are the women? They delay too long." Then a sudden knock came to the door, and a voice called as before, "Open! Open!" The mistress felt herself constrained to rise and open to the call. Immediately a second witch entered, having 2 horns on her forehead, and in her hand a wheel for spinning the wool. "Give me place," she said. "I am the witch of the 2 horns," and she began to spin as quick as lightning. And so the knocks went on, and the call was heard. The witches entered, until at last 12 women sat around the fire, the first with 1 horn, the last with 12 horns. And they carded the thread, and turned their spinning wheels, and wound and wove, all singing together an ancient rhyme, but no word did they speak to the mistress of the house. Strange to hear, and frightful to look upon, were these 12 women, with their horns and their wheels, and the mistress felt near to death, and she tried to rise that she might call for help, but she could not move, nor could she utter a word or a cry, for the spell of the witches were upon her. Then one of the women called to her in Irish, and said, "Rise, woman, and make us a cake." I did that today. It was a very good cake. Then the mistress searched for vessels to bring water from the well, that she might mix a meal and make the cake, but she could find none. And they said to her, "Take a sieve and bring water in it." And she took the sieve and went to the well, but water poured from it, and she could fetch none for the cake. She sat down by the well and wept. Then a voice came by her and said, "Take yellow clay and moss, and bind them together, and plaster the sieves so that it will hold." Thus she did, and the sieve held water for the cake. And the voice said again, "Return, when thou comest to the north angle of the house, cry aloud 3 times and say, 'The mountain of the Fenian woman, and the sky over it, is all on fire.'" And she did so. When the witches inside heard the call, a great and terrible cry broke from their lips, and they rushed forth with wild lamentations and shrieks, and fled away to Slave Naman, where was their chief abode. But the spirit of the well bade the mistress of the house to enter and prepare her home against the enchantments of the witches if they returned again. And first, to break their spells, she sprinkled the water in which she had washed her child's feet, the feet water, outside the door on the threshold. Secondly, she took the cake which the witches had made in her absence, a meal mixed with the blood drawn from the sleeping family. And she broke the cake in bits, and placed a bit in the mouth of each sleeper, and they were restored. And she took the cloth they had woven, and placed it half in and half out of the chest, with a padlock. And lastly she secured the door with a great cross beam fastened in the jambs, so that they could not enter. And having done these things she waited. Not long were the witches in coming back, and they raged and called for vengeance.
"Open, open," they screamed. "Open, feet water."
"I cannot," said the feet water. "I'm scattered on the ground, and my path is down to the low."
"Open, open, wood and tree and beam," they cried to the door.
"I cannot," said the door, "for the beam is fixed in the jambs, and I have no power to move."
"Open, open, cake that we have made and mingled with blood,"
they cried again. "I cannot," said the cake, "for I am broken and bruised. My blood is on the lips of the sleeping children." And the witches rushed through the air with great cries, and fled back to Sliev Nanon, uttering strange curses on the spirit of the well, who had wished their ruin. But the women in the house were left in peace. The mantle dropped by one of the witches in her flight was kept hung up by the mistress as a sign of the night's awful contest. And this mantle was in possession of the same family from generation and generation for 500 years later. And that is where I will stop. There is more to this one, but we can always read it later. I think I'm given to a switch to Mahjong because my throat is dry as the damned. Yo, Mia. Happy Halloween to you. How are you? It's a good set of odds we have. But I'd say you broke your nose? Aw, I'm sorry. Well, there's always the VOD. And we'll be doing stories for a long time, don't you worry. Yeah, I've been talking for about 2 hours now. I've been talking for a mighty long time. Drink some more water? Yeah, I should. I should. I'm actually going to leave a moment and get some of that. And then I'll treat you guys to a spot of mahjong. Then I think we will sleep the rest of October. Just got home from a 2-hour flight, so you're sort of out of it. Oof. I feel you. I hope your trip went well, aside from your nose being out of sorts. How did you manage to hurt your nose again? You know, I should know better than to ask these questions at this point. But yes, I will be right back. Some chick took her phone on a roller coaster and smacked me in the face. Oh, you have the worst luck. I'm so sorry. You have just shit luck. But yes, I will be right back. And we will continue just a tad longer. And we're back. And just for a little while longer, I thought we ought to send off this... Ugh. Send off the stream in the usual way. Forgive me, I am a bull in a china shop of my own making. There we go. Alrighty. And there be chat. And this. I will drastically lower. Our trip was kind of mad, we had fun, but the con we went to was cancelled, so the two things we enjoy most about it, aw. I'm sorry about that. Well, you're home safe and, well, mostly intact. And hopefully I can do you proud tonight. Let's see here. That's... Oh god, we've got wandering mouse syndrome. Excuse me. Pleasure Pier where the phone incident happened? Oof. Okay. What sort of idiocy is occurring? Are you telling me you're good at Chad? I can play Mahjong with a controller. Cry through up once or twice, oof. Well, that's just dumb. There's no reason I should be able to play Mahjong on a controller. That's... It doesn't need to be. It does not need to be. Safely, safely. Alright, I'll fix my blanket in a later time. Okay, you are good. You think the 5s are good. That I see evidence for. You think the 4s as well. That I see. 6s look good. The 2 I'll go for. You think the 3s? I tend to zone out on those if possible. 8s are good. The 6s I knew. The 1s could be done. This one is also... 1, 2... Oh, I see now. Those 3s are very much an almost. Those are not ready. These can go. Those 9s look pretty good. Those 3s are there. I want to hazard that, but I'm not sure. This can go. Those souths are there. And that's very triangulated, and so is this. That I'll take. This gives a north. These 4s look like they could do something. These ones are just useless. Okay, so this south. I've got 1, 2, 3. Gonna wait on it. These are gonna go. That's there. Those 4s really feel like they add up to something, but I guess they don't. That's not the way of anything these are. Those are not really a thing yet. These, there's a lot of them. That's where that's chilling. Those souths look really tempting. These 9s are just chilling. I'm gonna get rid of these. There feel like enough norths. Alright, 7s are somewhere. Those can go, that can go, that too can go. Those souths are sorted. Ugh, I don't know about that. That can go. This gives... Yeah, I don't see a reason to save those. These guys are okay. That 6... Wait a second, those were just sitting there the whole time. 4s are okay. That 6 is gonna wait. 7s are fine. 5s are not fine, but only one of them's in the way of things. That can go. Those 4s are good. Those 7s can go if I do a special order. These are okay. That can go. Those 6s are fine. Yeah, I think that's the best call. Those we're gonna do. I'm iffy on that. Okay, so that wouldn't have been possible, which I'm fine with. Swimming Forest Island. Hey. Alright, that's gonna be annoying for a little bit, but that's... I'm okay with that. These ones, certainly. 7s are in there. That 6 I'm gonna risk. These 8s are adding up to something. That 6 I'm gonna go for. That I'm gonna go for. 2s look almost okay. That can go. The 8s look good. 7s I'm actually gonna do because impulsively I want to get rid of that. This is not what I was hoping it would be. The 6s I want out. These 8s are not... They're just not adding up the way I want them to. Those 5s almost look like they've got something going on. So I'm gonna give them a little longer. These 9s feel good. These... I'll actually just see. So what's under here? This gives a 9. Could start doing that. That won't help. This may. That gives a 4. These 3s, there's a lot of shit going on here. Alright, I'm gonna get rid of that. That's where that is. Beneath my bed, tender whispers. I don't know about that one. Okay, well, I inadvertently pissed that away. I'm gonna get rid of these. I don't know if I'm actually still ahead. I don't know very much right now. Okay, so that's where that was. Those 7s we knew. Those are still a thing. I would have liked that to have worked out differently, but... Okay, we've still got that. We didn't notice my nose were broken until we could come back from our hotel room 5 hours later. Oof. Have you broken your nose in the past? I don't know about that. Okay. Swimming Forest Island. She walks safely, safely. Okay, those 5s can go. That I'm gonna get rid of. I need to get a little more aggressive. That gives a 4. I can do that. This 6 I might be able to... No. Okay. Just call it. Good. Twice before this time. Ah, okay. Edge is gonna be so proud of me. Alright, let's do another. We seem to be having good luck tonight. Did you walk safely, safely? Away and the water is rising. Okay, so that wasn't the best move I could have done, but we'll make it work. Those 3s are deep in there. But they're also the ones I know about. That 5 is blocking. That 5 is very triangulated. Okay. These 7s are actually good to go. Those can go. Those 2s are actually good. Those are trianged. That 9... I really want to get rid of that, but I don't know a good way to. Those 1s are trianged, but that's not very high stakes. Ooh, those 4s are. That was something I was hoping wasn't gonna be. Those are okay now. That's gonna be annoying later. I'm gonna go here. Those actually look okay. Those 5s look alright. The 4s, I don't know. This 2 could go. Ah, I see. That bit's fine. Oh. I could do that. Alright, I know this. I don't know where the others are. This 2's there. I think I'm just gonna get rid of those. Okay. Well, that gave us this, which I can't really sneeze at. Those souths are good now. That gives me this, which, okay. That 1 can go. We know about that. This 4 is scary. Oh, I know where that is. That's gonna be hard to get to. Can I get rid of this 6? Not easily. Yeah, it's not worth it. Well, double we know that. This 6 is under that one. Oh. That changes things. Yeah, that's much harder. 7's under there. That gives me... Well, if I really want this, I should do that. We're doomed if I fuck that up, so... That needs to go. Those 9s are not quite ready. That I'm gonna go for... I'll do that, actually. It opens up more anyway. Okay, that 9 is just not gonna play nicely. Yeah. It's rising, my panthers gotten green. I'll be your swimming forest island. Bid you walk safely, safely over me. So, I know about this. 6s can go. I'm gonna try to burn a little more of this down. Those 9s are triangulated right off the bat, which means I'm not gonna get to that. And these 9s are also not good. That one is there. These 2s are... I see that. Okay. I don't know what that accomplishes. Okay. That I'm gonna go for. This I don't know anything about. I'm gonna jump for it. Those are that way now. Okay. Those are good. Cries back with the food. Take care, Mia. Always good to see you, dude. Okay, those are alright. Safely. That's unfortunate. Those can go. Yikes. Sure. I guess we could do things that way. In my dreams and with my speech. Ah, it's not good. And I miss you. That's gonna go. This 5 I need out. Yeah, so I can't afford to save that. Okay. Safely, safely. Okay, I'm gonna have to tightrope walk a little here. Alright, we have a margin. We have a margin. That 9 could probably go, but I am not seeing how. I'm gonna get rid of these. I think so long as I don't freeze, we should be largely okay. Alright, those can go. That 9 is just effed, I guess. That's there. Could resolve that a bit in here. Just call it, just call it, just call it. Thank you. I can finally feel... Oh shit, that was pretty close to my all-time best as well. I can feel the strength of Edgehead's pride in me looming. We should do another. Just one more though. 90s finally. Okay, you think that I could get behind that? This... Okay, those 2s have to go. You think the North's already... Okay. This 8 I see. I also see this one. I see that 4, but I don't know why I would do that over something else. Alright, let's try that. Yeah, I'm beginning to see the problem. Okay, the 7s can go. That gives me... Well, that's just obvious. Those 4s are just chilling. I need to start making a dent in that. The 7, I have no idea where. Oh, I see it. Those 2s are still that way. I'm actually gonna double window these because they're in the more. They're in the way of too much. That's compacted. That was never gonna work out. Okay. Those 8s are okay. The Wests are not good. Those 2s I'm gonna go for. This 3 might help. Okay. Well, now I see that. That would have been helpful 2 seconds earlier, but it's not the world we live in. That south is gonna go. This is gonna go. Can I get rid of this 9? It doesn't look like it. If I can remove this 4, I could get... Oh, that's not happening. Sure. I'll explore that. Yeah, it's not what I want. It gives us 7. Well, these can go. That I'm okay with. That gives a 5, which gives an east. East doesn't help with a ton, but it does open up a little bit. Alright, these 4s are still out there. I'm gonna go for this one. These can go. That we know. These I'm pretty sure we know. And that's gonna be rough. We know that that's... We know that that exists, essentially. Let me actually do that. Those can go. That gives this. Right now, the one thing I've got going for me is that I haven't no more moved yet. And it doesn't look like I will. It doesn't look like I will. Oh, tits. Okay. I need to get rid of that. Okay, so those are okay. That 2's gonna have to go. This 3 is gonna need to disappear. Those 8s are not great. Can I do that? Okay, so this gives me a 3. I can't remember why I wanted to get rid of that. Was it for that? Yeah, it was. This 8 seems like it could go. That's gonna be there. We're gonna double window the 9s. Nope, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna double window these because we can't. Okay, that gives these. And these I can drill. Those can go. That's adding up to something. Those 9s I know about enough to be okay with saving. This seems a little bit sketch. Okay. We need to get in there. That 2 can go. Now these can go. That's not gonna happen. Those 6s look really unlikely. Yeah. I don't think that's gonna work. Those threes can go. That gives a 7. Can't access that, but I can access this, which doesn't help tremendously. I'm just hoping it helps at all. Okay, those 5s can go. That gives me this much, so those can go. Those are alright. This 6 can go. Those are fine. This is where it gets ugly. Okay. Okay. Not terrible. There's air beneath my bed, under whispers. Call it. Good. We are 2 points away. Alright, chat. It's up to you. Oh shit, that was my personal best as well. One more game? I think so. Edgehead must be wiggling in his seat. Save me. Oh god, it's this one. Okay. You think the 7s. I think you're probably right. The 1s look good, but they don't look good enough. The Souths. Same story. How are the 2s? I see that. South, south, south. No. Not enough. These can go. East I'm not seeing. 7s I see. Norths I just don't see enough of, I know that already. 6s are a definite maybe. These? Okay. And I'll get rid of those. At west I think I'm gonna get rid of just so that I can see a bit better. These guys can go. Those 2s can get gone. That gives me... I might do this because I know it. Those 6s are just chilling and I don't like it. Yeah, it's the same ones I keep saying over and over. Okay. Those 3s are actually good. I know you two are hanging out there. 5s I'm not seeing. I'm sure there's something I'm missing. Okay, these can go. Gives me those. Which, fine. Okay, wait, these could go. Those souths are good. That 4 I'm just gonna tag. Those 5s are alright. I should have saved it. That's not great. These 9s are actually good. Gonna grab that. Those are not quite ripe. These are. 7s are not there yet. I'm just gonna eat these. This gives me 4s. know that those are gone. These could go. This I'm just gonna go for. Those look okay. That's not in the way of anything. These two are. That's where that is. We know that's not there. These fuckers can go. This is gonna have to. I know those 8s are there. The 9s are salvageable. These can go, and then the 3s are just chilling. Okay. It's gonna be very close. Because I'm not the best at this board. I'm pretty good, but I'm not. This is not my forte. Okay, the 7s right off the bat, I'm kind of aware of. These 2s are making me suspicious. Gonna go there. Those 8s don't look quite right. These 9s look okay. That I'm just gonna get rid of because I just have a bad feeling that that's gonna trip me up. 6s don't look right. 7s I'm gonna get rid of. That's gonna hold me back. 2s I don't know about. Those 3s I've definitely seen. That's a thing I'm aware of. 6s can go. I keep coming back to those 9s. I know that I'm close. Those are there. That can go. These guys can go. Yeah, I must have done that like 4 times already. This board has just begun. I am hot on those. The 3 I'm not sure about. The 1 could go. This gives a 4. I'm gonna go for this. These are okay. I'm actually gonna get rid of that. These 9s are actually ready. How are the 8s? They're not quite there yet. Those 3s, I thought, okay. Not sure what's going on with these. 7s are here. That 6 is there. Okay, that's where that is. That just took me a long time to find for no reason. Oh man. I don't feel good about this margin. I don't think it's enough. It's a lot, but I don't think it's enough. That's what I'm meant to do. That one I don't see. That I'm gonna go with. That I already know is gone. This 9 I'm gonna go with. Those 7s are actually good. Hello? Oh. Okay. Don't know where the other is. Don't have time to look. I know where that is. Oh shit. Okay. Hopefully this gets called soon and I don't have to face the music of my mistakes here, but I'm prepared to. Those 6s, just end it, just end it. Oh. That was not a lot of breathing room. Okay, I'm not letting myself fuck it up. Happy Halloween. We did it. We're ending stream. We did it. So, in the meantime, do not eat or drink any questionable substances. Make smart decisions, do not die. Dying is absolutely forbidden. I will see you all. Be wonderful people. At a later time. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.